Salvage, a story by user Rantarian. Chapter 13, Plan C from Outer Space. Adrian Saunders was holding 11 armed Kortai soldiers hostage on their own ship. They didn't seem happy about it, but when the alternative had been slaughtering them with impunity, they were at least understanding, and were informed enough about human capabilities to be very cooperative. He had decided that Plan B wasn't working for him. It had sounded straightforward when Triafa had explained it. The Zoddersill would be raided by Kortai, and eventually more hunters if he was believed to still be on board. That was why Plan A had been to have the Kortai transportation ship eject the stasis pod into space for the hunters, thus writing him off as an unfortunate loss, while in actual fact the hunter ships would have been piloted by his comrades who would then pick him up and return him to the Zoddersill. Plan B was for when that plan failed, and he had to pilot the entire Kortai vessel back after exterminating its crew. In this case, the official Kortai records would indicate that the human they were after had taken control of the vessel and was taking it who knew where. Not ideal, but so long as Triafa could shut down the locator beacon, the Directorate wouldn't have any reason to go looking for it in the vicinity of the Zoddersill. But unlike the hunters, the Kortai weren't being actively aggressive, and mostly seemed terrified when he leapt out of hiding to kill them. It was beginning to bother him, and that's where Plan C had come from. "So," he said to them, waving his sword back and forward between them and causing them to shrink back in fear. "This is real fucking cliché, but I need you to take me to your leader." "That is most unusual," Ship Second Tulkits mused, running through another scan. "The 2 teams I sent down to Storage Room 37 are leaving as a group, but the 13 who were in that room are still there." "Maybe there is something going on down in that storage room," Shipmaster Kerfty suggested. "Get in contact with them. See what they have to say for themselves." "As you say, Shipmaster," Tulkits said obediently, and turned to the communication console to his right. "Investigative teams, report." There was a delay, longer than he would have expected. He activated the communicator again. "Investigative teams, we're fine," came the response at last. "Everything's fine here. We're all just coming up to the command deck." "To the command deck?" Tulkits queried. "If all is well, return to your stations." "Negative, Ship Second," the investigative team responded again, almost plaintively. "We will be coming to the command deck. We have something to deliver." Tulkits hesitated. That was puzzling. There was nothing he was aware of on the ship that would ever need to be delivered to the command deck, save for the occasional protein tablet for the hard-working shipmaster and his trusted second. "Shipmaster," he said uncertainly, "the investigative teams are on their way here. They have something to deliver." "What have they got?" Shipmaster Kerfty asked. "I'm not hungry enough for a protein tablet." "I'll check," Tulkits replied, and turned back to the communicator console. "Investigative team, what are you delivering?" At that moment, the door to the command deck literally burst apart to reveal a human with a fusion sword. The human bared its teeth at them. "A surprise, motherfucker!" Adrian had done his best James Dokes impression, and there had been nobody else around to appreciate it. That had been disappointing, but he was getting used to nobody knowing what the hell he was talking about, and he didn't let it slow him down. He pointed the fusion sword at the Kortai sitting in the most commanding chair. "You're the dickhead in charge here?" he demanded. The Kortai leader shrank back in plain horror at the current situation. "All hands! Defend me!" he cried out desperately. "Fire on the human!" There was hesitation from all corners. All members of the command deck crew glanced at their kinetic sidearms with the kind of forlorn looks that told him they knew exactly how useless they'd be. "Respectfully, Shipmaster," said one of the command crew. "But with what?" "Look, mate," Adrian said, addressing the shipmaster. "I'm about to offer you a way to stay alive. But if you don't want it, then someone else can always get promoted." He let the words sink in, and the Kortai leader regained his composure. "The Directorate will not allow this to pass lightly," he warned Adrian. "But I will listen to your demands." The situation aboard the Zoddersill had been tense. Plan A had not worked. In fact, it had failed spectacularly when they had discovered that the Kortai ship had been a heavy scout with a sealed FTL drive, and now they were waiting to see if Adrian could manage to return. "This is not an ideal situation," Triafa had said. "But we have little choice to hope everything goes as—" "It's here!" Tricror excitedly interrupted. "The Kortai ship just appeared in a lower orbit." "We'll have to go out and board it," Cheer said. Triafa still needs to disable the beacon, and we need to guide it onto the flight deck.
Adrian only managed 56% of his simulated landings with any success,
Tricor reminded them.
We don't want him ramming a heavy scout through the Zoddersill by accident.
We need to make sure it's actually him first, Triafa told them. I'll contact the ship, just in case the plan has failed spectacularly. 2 hours later, Adrian was back on the flight deck of the Zoddersill, its massive space now substantially filled by 10 hunter ships, the Kortai salvage runner, and most substantially by the heavy scout, the Endless Sequence. You know, Che, he said to the Gowan as they strode across the deck, I know the power is back on and all this new air is sealed in, but I don't think I'll ever be comfortable walking around here again. I know what you mean, Cheer replied, glancing nervously at the end of the flight deck, where metal turned into the black void of space. But you know, I find it a little hard to believe you didn't end up killing all of the Kortai on the scout ship. I'm a soldier, mate, Adrian replied. Not a murderer. They didn't put up any resistance, and they were all too happy to get into their escape pods when told to. You don't think that was a mistake? Cheer asked. What if they tell the Directorate? They will tell the Directorate, Adrian said. They'll tell them what I said I was going to do. Cheer responded with his approximation of a confused frown. Which was... I had them enter the coordinates for the Hunter homeworld, Adrian told him. I told them I was going to war. And they believed you? Cheer asked, clearly aghast at the idea of anyone going to the Hunter homeworld. Mate, said Adrian with a broad smile, I can be very persuasive when I need to be. We're amassing quite the fleet, Zrypov observed as Adrian and Cheer reached the airlock. Pity we don't have enough people to fly all of these. I thought you wanted to go home, Adrian asked, or at least get back into that war you were fighting in. The Dominion-Kelsey War, Zrypov replied. Yes, I was just considering that a mercenary company with a fleet of this size would be quite the substantial force. The Dominion, or alternatively, the Kelsey, would shit their collective pants if they came against this kind of force. Zrypov gave an undulating croak of laughter. Stealing a ship from the Kortai Directorate had brightened his day, and the more vessels he saw housed in the enormous flight deck, the more he found himself wondering what the future could hold if he managed to take control of such an assembly of vessels. Could it be possible for him, a low-born pond raker, to ascend to the lofty heights of Fleet Lord? It didn't seem so far-fetched right now. What's that war even about? Adrian asked. From what I've heard, it has been quite drawn out. Who are the good guys? It's a political thing, Cheer inserted. There are no good guys. That war is a significant reason for my people being reluctant to join the Dominion at this time, in spite of other benefits. It has proven itself to be a meat grinder. I don't really pay attention to such things myself, Zrypov admitted. As long as there's someone willing to pay for mercenary work, I'm happy. And when the war inevitably ends, Cheer asked, what will you do then? Zrypov croaked his laugh again. Then there's easy guard duty for freighters, or work as bodyguards. Just because there's peace doesn't mean there's no danger. Especially not with that message the Hunters put out, I imagine. Adrian mused. The laughter died in Zrypov's throat. The amusement left his eyes. That is true, he said. So maybe I'll have to find work far away from any humans. No offense intended. My main worry, Adrian said, is that there are more humans out there, and that maybe they're not capable of fucking up a small army. More to the point, Cheer said. How will those around them react to the news? We know you've outclassed 1,000 hunters, taken 10 of their ships in the process, but that's not common knowledge. Zrypov gestured his agreement with a bobbing motion. Their friends will become their enemies, he said. It will come down to a matter of pure survival. It's a matter of survival for us as well, Cheer reminded him. Except the hunters will come for us either way, so we actually want our human here. I think that maybe, Adrian said, rubbing his chin, I really will need to declare war on them. They stared at him in combined horror. Zrypov had never heard of anyone who was willing to throw their military at the hunter brood. He'd have called anyone who suggested such a plan insane. But this man had already given the hunters a bloody nose without much preparation, and had even walked through a dissipating trace atmosphere and survived. I won't say they don't have it coming, Zrypov said, but how do you expect to win such a war? I don't know if I can, Adrian admitted with a frown, but it seems to me that we've got a few aces up our sleeve. First things first, though, we're going to need some much better weapons. With all that had been going on, it had taken Triafa days to trawl through the enormous number of logs, reports, and manifests in the Zoddersil's memory banks. She was not accessing it through the ship's own operating system, and as a result, the file tables were not being read. Each file she had opened had been a complete mystery until she had started reading. But she was finally done, or at least she was done reading everything that seemed important. The complete picture was much as Beckmer had posited, and matched what she had come to suspect herself. Earth had produced a sentient race once before, and they had built the Zoddersil. From the records of those final days, almost all Vistraki had been exterminated by a final genocidal campaign by their enemies, and had been destroyed with such completeness that it was little wonder that almost nothing remained. And now the final record, the last words of Shiplord Za. Any creature of their homeworld may be recognized by the ship as a commander. The human could command this ship. Triafa leaned forward with both hands on her desk, her breathing and movement both under her strictest control, her body and temper both feeling taut enough to snap. She knew that it must be possible, somehow, to use this to take control of the ship for herself, but she couldn't see how. For the life of her, she simply couldn't see how. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. We are going back into Salvage. We've got quite a few more chapters of Salvage to get through before we get back to main sequence or Shu Chang. But these next few of Salvage set up a lot of the information for the main sequence that's very important. You get to meet Big Hotel, learn what the heck they are, learn how they came to be, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So you're in for a treat, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for spending this time with me. I'm so glad that you did. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe if you're new here. If you didn't like it, leave a comment. Tell me what I can improve. I'd really appreciate that. And as always, guys, if you would like to help the continued growth of the channel, please click on the Patreon link in the description, and please go read the original as well. I love reading these, and I would love for all of you guys to read them as well. I know that I give them to you in a more accessible manner, but they really are great works, and you should go over to our HFY and really read these because they're fantastic. All right, thanks guys for being here. I will see you in the next one. Bye.